Hello YouTube! Welcome to another episode of Games Done Slow and Bad, where we play games slowly and most often badly. We're back with Keplerth, Another World! With the new release, I am going to create a new character. I figure this is a good time to roll through the entire character creation screen as part of the tutorial. You enter your name, and you pick your race. Elves have a 10% walking speed buff. Dark Elves have a 10% attack speed buff. Orcs have a 1-point offense boost and a defense boost. Mummies are my favorite personally. Restore 1 health every 2 seconds. Boar men have a 5-point buff to defense. That's nothing to sneeze at. Humans gather and eat more quickly. Barbarians have a 2-point attack buff. Half-elves get half of a human, half of an elf buff, so they get walking and attack speed. Okay, Mummy is honestly my way to go. This negates the need to find nectar all over the map, and I love to give them really luscious hair. Like, yeah, this makes sense. Don't worry about it. Alright, we are going to add a seed because then everyone can test it with us. We're going to call it Test. It's going to be great. Alright, here's the new difficulty level menu. Casual, it's beginner friendly, the enemies are less harmful, and your items remain in your backpack even if you die. So this is easy mode. If you die, you don't lose your stuff. Classic Keplerth, which is kind of funny because it's an early access game and has no actual classic backing behind it. But hey, what are you gonna do? If you die, all your backpack items will be dropped on the ground and you have to go get them, so be careful. Hardcore is permadeath. Permadeath is great because it's a little more difficult. Enemies are more brutal, and you only have 1 life. If you're dead, you are permanently dead. Just to be clear, what dead means, you're dead. We're going to go with Classic. Mainly because if I die in this tutorial, I want to be able to go get my stuff, and I also don't want to restart. That would be heartbreaking.
Hello, welcome to your new home. We have arrived at an eco-colony built by our company on a planet called Keplerth. You have just spent 273 years in suspended animation.
That's
System is now about to examine your body. Please display the body.
Yep, so broken stasis pod. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, so to recap my last tutorial video, the start of all of my adventures is always the same. Punch some boxes. If this is your first tutorial, welcome. I'm going to go through the basics of getting a character started. I'm going to edit out quite a bit in between everything, simply because I've already done this once. But if this is your first time, I highly recommend going to see the early access version. It's based on the first version of the game. Fortunately, not much has changed that would negate its usefulness. We appear to have started right next to a desert, next to some goats, that's interesting, and chickens. I'm not going to do animal husbandry, I don't think, in this version. But if you'd like to see that in my previous tutorial video, I have covered that. To go through some new changes to this version, so they put out a very early first patch for this game, and that first patch added a few things. 1, it added the difficulty menu that we looked at earlier. 2, it added the little dial in the bottom corner of the screen. Bottom left corner, you see it is 7 a.m., it is day 1, and we are on the surface. This might seem relatively insignificant, but I assure you it's actually super helpful. The time especially, because obviously every day looks, homogeneous. It's really nice to have confirmation of whether or not you should be reprioritizing your day. So when I'm exploring, it's nice to be able to say, oh, I have another 2 hours of sunlight, no big deal. Or, ooh, it's getting late, I better head in before the mobs come out. So that's wonderful to have. It's a nice addition. I very much thumbs up that. From the GUI, not much else has changed, although beds are now more effective than they were previously. So when we looked at this last, beds had really no explicit purpose. You could sit in them, but you didn't get a buff. It was just sort of a thing you could do. Now, when you sleep in a bed, let's do it right now just to show. I might have to sleep in the other one because this might be already spawned to it. Yep. You can set your spawn point. This is great if you don't want to actually be here and you don't want to do the dungeoneering. this is a great option to have. I am going to add an excessive amount of editing into this episode because we are starting from scratch. And the reason I'm starting from scratch, because you might be saying, well, the devs said, I know the devs said that you can theoretically get the stuff to spawn on a pre-existing game. I spent last night 2.5 to 3 hours walking around attempting to find something in my last game. So yes, that's fine that they said that. I don't believe them. I think they are mistaken, and I don't believe that it works the way they think it does. Now, yep, I know they know the game better than me, but I will say that I wasted a pretty significant portion of my life hoping and praying that this was going to work out, and it didn't, so I'm not so inclined to keep messing around with that. Alright, we need to find some wood. I'll throw a cut in here and come back once I've crafted a workbench and gotten a little bit more progress. I will obviously continue to run the camera in case something interesting happens, though. Okay, if you are absolutely brand new to Keplerth, I'm going to summarize what I've just done in the briefest way possible so that you can duplicate it if you so choose. First, I found a source of wood. I got wood by chopping down trees initially to get the wood resource. I got some stone. I combined the stone with the wood to create an axe. That sped things up. I also combined the stone with the wood to create a stone pickaxe. With the resources gathered, I created a workbench out of wood. Wooden workbenches are your sort of first line of items. Wooden workbenches open up the world to you to make items. The 4 items we want to talk about here are the furnace, the anvil, the stove, and the firearms workbench. We need a furnace, we need an anvil, and we need a stove. So, the furnace can only be created with stone, the anvil can only be created with metal, the stove can be created with either, so we're going to make it out of wood because why waste valuable resources? If you are unfamiliar with the game, the stove allows you to cook. There's a survival aspect of this game where you have to remain fed or die. The furnace allows you to smelt your ore into bars. I'm going to go collect some food so we can show off a little bit of cooking. So to collect food, you simply right-click on a fruit tree. Fruit trees are designated by having red on them. You always start with a fire here, a campfire. It's a decoration, quote-unquote, but it allows for some very basic crafting. We'll go over that in like 2 seconds. Alright, so again, if you are brand new to Keplerth, there are mobs all around. So I have used stone and dirt and other assorted materials to wall off my base. Campfires are great early game because they allow you to cook certain items, although not the berries, mostly the meats, and to create something useful out of them. Stoves allow you to cook fruit. Fruit, or all cooking in this game, consists of taking 3 items, putting it into the stove, and then applying a heat source to it. So we're just going to apply one wood. Alright, well that's working. We'll grab our copper bars. So we have a stack of 17 copper bars. This is going to allow us to produce an anvil, which can only be made out of metal bars, if you remember. And we're going to plop that down right here. This is the setup that I have used in basically every playthrough. Workbench, furnace, stove, anvil, all right next to each other. Then I'll use this area down below to put a few chests, then do some crude cooking on that stove. With my remaining 7 bars, I am going to craft a... Can I do a bow yet? I can just barely do a bow. It's not going to be super helpful to me. I'm going to hold off on that for like 1 second. Okay, with cooking that, we get a fruit jam. It restores a little bit of hunger and 25 points of HP. This is not the best item. Meat is by far better. We need the slightest bit more copper, so we are going to head out into the world and we're going to explore. We also would not mind getting some meat, which I might do by slaughtering some of the animals we saw up there. I will put a cut in here, and we'll rejoin the next time something interesting happens. Oh, something interesting just happened. This flower right here, if you're not a mummy and you don't get auto-healed, punching one of these will give you a source of nectar. Nectar is a great healing item. It basically covers the equivalent of a health potion. It's pretty great. Alright, this is an enemy. The basics of combat are to swing your weapon at the enemy and try to back off as you swing, and you'll do pretty well. As a mummy, I don't much care if I get hit, because I can heal it off. I actually care much more about maintaining a healthy amount of food. That one didn't go quite as well, but again, I'm a mummy, so as you can see, I'm healing it off pretty quick. As you walk further away from your base, the base symbol will remain for you to navigate by. It is great, it is super helpful, and you can walk basically an infinite number of spaces away and still get this. Okay, world event. So, within the world now, you'll see a lot more spawns. I'm not sure if they were present in the last version, I just didn't see a lot of them, of the goblin people on the surface. Oh, there's my copper too. This isn't great. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I can come around this thing. Can I lose them? I might be able to. Idiots. Alright, I'm healed up enough to just try and take this guy. Let's try and take him. 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 Yep, we got him. Okay, perfect. So you see it's now 6 p.m. and you can see the sun is starting to set. That's a problem because mobs spawn in much greater frequency once the sun goes down. That boar just spawned into that room that I was just going to go take refuge in. Alright, we're going to have to head back. So this is a new auto-generated ruin that happens. It's pretty neat. They just pop in all over the place. As you're exploring, these become invaluable. Because when you need to wait out the night somewhere, you now have... Oh, come on. You now have a place all over the map that you can find that you can tuck away into and wait for sunlight. That might seem insignificant, but I'll tell you, when you're being chased by goblins like this, and there's 5 of them rather than just 1, you're going to enjoy that little cottage, that little shack you found in the middle of the woods. Like Minecraft, you can craft your own barriers as well. If you're clever and you're quick, you can throw up a wall that will keep these guys from chasing you. Okay, back at base, we are safe. We have outrun the goblin, although we are mighty, mighty hungry. And we didn't have a great successful run finding food items, so we will eat the items we have, and I guess just deal with it. Alright, apples. Apples are a mediocre 5% buff type food item. They will hold you over, but they're not going to do anything substantial. Cooked fruit does very little as well. Yes, it does as much as an apple. Berries might be my least favorite item. At basically, why am I even bothering to eat this? Probably waste more time eating it. Alright, now that we have a substantial amount, we are going straight for a spear. This is one of my favorite items. So there's a sword, which is a medium speed attack weapon. There's a spear, which is a long-range weapon, and a dagger, which is a quick stabbing weapon. This allows me to hit very significantly in front of me, so I can keep pace away from enemies. For those of you who see my other playthrough, you know that this is the underground. For those of you who are new to the game, this is where you can go and explore and fight some more difficult mobs, and also get some decent loot. I'm doing this because I have PM and I need to do something for the night. The hope is that I'll find something quick down here that is neat and worthwhile. In some of my other playthroughs, I have found veins of copper that were immediately available to me. That made a huge difference. Alright, cave system. A little bit of copper, big cave system. It's not the best. Like, this is death. At this stage in the game, that's absolute death. So it definitely could be better, but it definitely could be worse as well. Get We got one, and as you can see, this is an excellent weapon because it does a pretty significant amount of damage and allows us to kill people from afar. Ooh, and we got a dagger. So here we go. Here's a dagger. You can see the speed difference is just a night and day. The problem with a dagger, though, and I'll show you with this guy, you're surrendering the distance part of the equation to the enemy. You're basically saying, I now know that you're going to be able to hit me. Is that... Oh, sand block's cool. You're basically just surrendering that. You're saying, like, yeah, I can't possibly keep pace with that, so you win. I prefer to have the distance advantage, which is why I'm going to go spear most often. Okay, these are mushrooms. For those of you who are new to the game, these can be cooked at the simple campfire, and they have random effects. They're pretty terrible. But for the sake of completeness, I'll throw some in, and we'll take a look at them after. I also have a piece of meat, which I cannot do anything with right now. Having that meat, however, reveals the best use of meat in the game, and that is that meat, when stacked with 2 fruit items, provides a big feast, which is a wonderful food item. Ooh, we got armor. So I'm going to cut this video down a lot, but I hope that that's helpful if this is your absolute first time playing this game. Alright, we're going to do a 3 meat, because I just ran out and got this, mainly because I don't want to starve to death. I'm at 13%. Alright, this is a all-meat feast. Watch this. Watch this. 13%? Not try 48%. This is pretty legit. When it comes to a food item that you can produce readily, meat is where it's at, and subsidizing with fruit helps quite a bit. I'm going to try to not waste any more meat doing those. And we're going to do some night exploring, which is probably going to kill me, but what are you going to do? Alright, this is another ruined area within the game. These will become very helpful early on in the game, and then you'll start to pick through them, and they'll become less helpful. But it gives you just some random materials to get started with. Like this would give you a bed if you didn't have a bed. This would give you a workbench if you didn't have a workbench. There's probably going to eventually be some derivation of this game where you start with less than you start with now. Another ruined area here. We're gonna try to box out. This is the most successful way I found of exploring. Shiv, 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 shiv. I moved my spear off my hotbar. That wasn't a good call. Basically, I'm gonna walk 100 squares out in one direction, then 100 squares up, then 100 squares over to the left, then another 100 squares. So I will make a big grid search pattern, and this will allow me to search the map in an organized fashion in an attempt to find potential NPC villages or enemy setups. Because one of the things that wasn't covered exceptionally well in the release notes for the new patch is the most impressive piece of this are the little enemy dungeons that they've created. You can find all sorts of different enemy dungeon setups that are incredibly challenging and well done. It appears that I found something worthwhile. It appears that I found 2 things worthwhile. Alright, yeah, this is, we saw this in the last playthrough, I think. This is just a little farm spawn that happens from time to time. The best thing to come out of here is I can get a little bit of compressed cookie, which will at least help me with hunger. I'm also finding enough apples that when combined with the scant amount of meat that I have, I should be all set. I also saw something up here that warrants a check. I think this stuff right here is not regular stone, but it could just be my eyes. Let's see. Is it just regular stone? Nope, that's iron ore. Perfect. Alright, so iron ore is a better version of copper, to the best of my understanding. Great. Stone pickaxe equals stone and wood. Problem solved. So iron is better than copper. We have found some iron. We shall use that to create something better than what we have with copper. We shall also harvest this copper because beggars cannot be choosy. Alright, I don't think I saw this in the original playthrough. A lot more water spots. Deep water is darker, shallow water is lighter. Pretty obvious stuff, but worth pointing out if you are completely new to the game. It does raise the interesting question of whether or not you're eventually going to need to satisfy a thirst standard, where you might have to go and actually find water in order to drink it. But hey, we'll see that in the future, right? Oh, look at this. Treasure spot. Ooh. Alright. That was probably not at all worth it. What did we get? Ooh, here's the new item I found. 2 new items. Bandages. They stop bleeding, restore 25 HP. Not useful for me as a mummy. Also, defense capsules. Increases your defense by 3 points for 10 minutes. That is worth it. That's a nice little buff. It's like throwing on an extra layer of armor. Right now we are a little light on armor, but eventually that will be a big deal. Alright, so it appears that we found a slight biome change. You can see the grass style change a little bit to this darker grass. Here I found some neat new enemies. Let's see if we can find them. Ooh. Well, hello. Oh, found something. This appears to be some sort of goblin spawn area. Alright, let's take a look at this. This looks neat. This is an example of the stuff that's been added in, and it does deform the area, which actually gives it a little bit more character. Oh, look at this. Yep. This is a boss spawn / goblin spawn area. They form these pretty significant little colonies, and they're scattered around the map. They are insta-death if you are under-leveled or under-geared, so they're no unless you are planning on doing something. Alright, so that's 200 spaces out. I'll keep that in mind. Now, the tactics that I've employed in these, and I actually showed off just a little bit, is if you have a substantial amount of rocks, you can build an enclosure to keep yourself safe, and then tunnel in and just take them out one by one. We'll come back to that later. I made them angry. So you can make a rock house essentially off the back of one of their houses, and you can hold out there. Oh, look at this! They've enslaved one of those hideous rodent things. Yep, we're gonna run. That's so cool. Alright, there's some guys with a chest. Do you want to try that? Alright, this is one of my favorite new ones that appears. These little guys are generally 2 to 4 chests, and in those chests are 2 to 4 sets of very helpful healing edible items, healing items, yada yada yada. They also tend to have a stove, so if you have onesie twosie meat that you'd like to cook up because you're starving out in the wild, it's a good place to rest up. I am starving out in the wild, but I'm not going to do so because I do not want to waste my meat. And I really should use these drugs a little bit. Let's pop and attack one down. That could be fun. There we go. We're going to fan up from 200, 200, 200, 200, and we're going to see what we can find. Again, I have played for upwards of 3.5 – 4 hours on this build, and I have not found a NPC village. And with this grid pattern, now I might miss something in the middle, but the odds are that I would see it at some point. I'd see some hint of it because these are not small structures. Oh, here's another one. These have a bed, they got a workbench, they got 2 chests. If you have a bow and if you are making arrows actively, these are great because they give you a chance to rearm. You will realize that if you think you have enough arrows in this game, you very likely don't have enough arrows. Go get more arrows. because a lot of fights degrade into a very quick and dirty runaway and lob arrows fight. So I guess a basic mechanic that I didn't cover in the first one because I felt like it was pretty obvious, but I guess it's worth actually speaking to, is the mechanic of stamina, food, and durability. So each time you swing a weapon or a tool, you use a little bit of food. You lose a little bit of your hunger bar up to do so. In addition to, generally most items have a durability level, and you're degrading the durability of that item. So you are not only getting the food to subsist, but you also have to always think about refreshing your items and your weapons. So you see, like, my shiv is now maybe about half, my spear is 75%. These are just things you need to consider. Okay, that is a big enemy at 200 even, and I can't walk back that way. That would be certain death. Okay, we're going to walk around this place. So these guys are not invulnerable, the guys with the giant helmets and tremendous swords, but they are no joke. So yeah, in this new build, use caution because you can get wrecked at any time. So this is where the race bonuses of the elf make look more sense, because I'm gonna get wrecked by this stupid pack of dogs and goblins because I can't outrun them. Alright, so I am hungry, I am injured, I'm a bunch of bad things right now. We're going to try and get back to the base and recoup up. We also have a pretty significant amount of resources to go through and process down. Alright, so that adventure netted us 49 copper ore. We are going to get good. The next thing we're going to do is go down into the underground and try to find some coal, which is a thing that I don't think was added in the last model, but they might have retextured it or increased the availability, because it is much better now. Torches. Alright, we are going to eat up a bunch of apples to get back to 100%, and we're going to head into the underground. By the way, the 1 meat, 2 fruit, big feast. Good time. Alright, we're good to go. We have 50 torches, and we have a couple of axes, a couple of pickaxes. I generally go right, we're going to go left. One, 2, 3, angry worm thing. Yep, just trying to get a good baseline for light down in here. Again, with the mummy, I'm far less concerned about conceding the extra point of damage. With these guys, they'll wreck you a little bit. Poke him with the stick. There we go. We're going to attempt to create our own cave system. This is how I made the most progress in the last playthrough. The one no one saw, because it was 3 hours long and concluded with me finding almost nothing. Oh, here we go. Already found it. Okay, this is what I wanted to show everyone. It seems like this is not like new, because I'm pretty sure I've seen it, but it's much more popular in this release. Coal. Coal is the underground equivalent of finding yourself some wood, and it basically negates your need to go up top and mine or harvest wood explicitly to run your stoves, etc., etc. It might seem insignificant, but I think it's actually huge. There are coal seams that I've seen that were large enough that I no longer felt the need to actually continue to harvest wood. Like, that part of the game went south for me because I didn't need to do it anymore. Ooh, we found something, we found something, we found something! This is so exciting. We found some sort of goblin haven, and I'm super excited about that. Alright, let's look at this. Okay, this looks legit. Okay, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna clear out the area behind us because we got some stuff that's sneaking up on us. We're gonna heal up, we're gonna eat up, and then we're gonna tackle this. Boop. And remember, this is only underground level 1. So what we're seeing here is the first level of difficulty. Bow, 1 attack speed, 1 attack speed. Defense, defense. We're gonna drop to some defense, I think. Ugh, come on. Pop some drugs. Okay, we are out of arrows, but that's okay, because we got most of these guys down. And we can win in this upcoming shift fight with these guys. I can get 2 at 1, 2 at 1, 2 at 1, 2 at 1, 2 at 1. Oh yeah. Wow, that's cool. Okay. That's the first time I've seen one of these placed in the underground, so I'm super excited about that. That's cool. So in terms of the haul of what we've actually found here, I'm going to say that this is kind of a bust. In terms of exploration and being able to show you guys something cool and different, this is what you can find underground. This is the tutorial I kind of wanted to make here. Yeah, I think we're pretty much done down here for now until we can get some more torches. But yeah, look at this. You can get down here and find these little goblin camps. That is so cool. We have 35 copper, or 35 coal, so it's definitely the winner of this. We have some better armor. Swap that on right now. We look pretty awesome. What was this armor? Strong assassin leather armor. That's cool. Yeah, we're in good shape. So unfortunately, we were unable to find a few things in this episode, and that's a little bit of a bummer. That's iron too. We'll get this over here. That's a little bit of a bummer. I was hoping to find an NPC village. I was hoping to find some gold or silver that we could transform into coins, just to show that function off. That's a new function to the game. Crafting of your own currency out of appropriate valuable bars. But hey, I guess there's always next time, right? Oof, we have a lot of armor. That's good, because armor decays. That's bad, because I would love a few more weapons. Okay. That was pretty close. That would have been quite the way to end. And I'm dead. Oh, wow. Okay, so we have a boatload of stuff here. We have a ton of copper we harvested up top. We got a ton of coal we got down below. We have all of this new armor to go through that we'll store in our nice, lovely new chest that we have in our house. We have gear now to actually make us somewhat dangerous. We saw a goblin encampment. We went through some very basic startup stuff. We used one of these new drug additions. We saw the coal, what that looks like down in the underground. We've seen a lot of things, and it's great. I'm really happy that folks have enjoyed this game, and I'm really hoping that if folks are still interested in it, it'll give me an opportunity to continue to play it and record it for you. Even if you aren't watching, I'm still going to be playing, so really the difference there is recording. Each one of these videos for a tutorial takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to get enough footage to make. Additionally, on top of that, it takes a few hours to get used to the new update, so I hope everyone appreciates these. I enjoy making them. I hope they're useful more than anything else, because I'd hate to be doing this if no one was finding any use in it. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, like, comment, and subscribe below if you like what you see. If you don't like what you see, just shoot me a note and let me know what I could have done differently. This has been Games Done Slow and Bad, and as I always close out my videos, I always like to say, you have a ton of options when it comes to content online, and I'm super happy you chose to spend time with me today. Thank you sincerely, and have a good night.